Welcome to the Draft Indy podcast, episode 2. We talked to people and got your feedback, and we're back. And I think we are going to try and keep this to a weekly thing. Sometimes we'll do way more draft stuff. Sometimes it's not time for draft stuff just yet. We just had week 1, and no, the sky is not falling. The team is not going to go 0-16. That would be it's not no, that's just not going to happen. But it's not all that bad. So I guess what we're going to start out with here is just kind of some reactions from the Bills game. And I'm going to go first. Actually, I have 2 things on defense I want to talk about real quick. One of them is Trent Cole, and the other is Darius Butler. I've got more defensive takes. Well, we might get to them. But Trent Cole, when it was time to rush the passer, still has some stuff there. I think he blew up a few plays and really hurried. He even hit Taylor a few times. I don't think that he's going to be 20 sacks good. I don't think that he'll be 15 or even 10 sacks good, but I think you could probably see, realistically, maybe 7 to 10 sacks from him. It's not outlandish. Anybody else? I forget. One of you was talking about Trent Cole. Has anyone got anything that they want to say about Trent?
Sure. I was talking about him a while ago, I think in the preseason, because I didn't think he was going to do anything when he got here. I thought he was old. I didn't think he finished his last season very well. That's usually a bad sign at his age. But he kind of surprised me in the preseason. I thought he looked a little quicker than I was expecting, a little stronger too. I'm not sure, even after watching the Buffalo game, if anyone on this defense is going to be that guy who's going to come around the edge and get at a quarterback that way. But I do think that he's going to be a nice weapon for Minuski to bliss with, just because he's quick and he's got strength. And I think there are several guys on this defense kind of like that. I guess that's what Newsome is at this point. But Trent Cole's got the benefit of he doesn't make as many rookie mistakes as Newsome does. And yeah, he can still body some people, so I think he's valuable in that way.
Yeah, and we'll get to Newsome after this. We're gonna have a discussion about him. But has anyone else got anything they want to say about Trent before we move on? I don't want to neglect you guys.
Obviously, with Mathis being out, he kind of steps in as the main pass rusher because Walden isn't really much of a rusher. He's more of a run stopper. I mean, he's good at it, but he's not good around the edge. He doesn't have the bend that Cole does. I didn't know what to expect from Cole because we were kind of comparing him, Andre Johnson, or Frank Gore. Like, okay, who still has something left in the tank? Who's washed up, and who's in the middle. So right now, kind of looks like he's played the best out of the three of them. You can throw Harriman's in there too, but as of now, he's our best pass rusher, at least from the linebacker standpoint. And watching him against the Rams, I thought it was kind of fool's gold because he was going against guys like Rob Havenstein and that awful Rams offensive line. So I thought maybe it was just a little overreaction when I saw him play well. But when he goes against guys like Cordy Glenn and Central Henderson and plays somewhat to the same level and shows his ability to make Tyrod move in the pocket, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, depending how Minuski wants to play it. Right now he's our best impact defender in the front seven.
Yeah, I would say in the pass rush regard, that's probably accurate. James, you haven't talked yet, so I'm gonna shoot it out to you. One defensive takeaway from the game against the Bills.
Okay. Well, real quick, Trent. I thought actually he surprised me more than I was expecting. In preseason, I wasn't thinking that he was doing too well, but I wrote his name down a couple times. He can still definitely get good leverage and get underneath the linemen. So he got a couple pressures that I thought I saw playing pretty well. Considering that that's as good as it's going to get now. Yeah, probably 7-10 sack guy. Defensive takeaways, besides, I'll go first, so I'll take the easy one. Henry Anderson's, he's pretty good at football. But actually, I really liked, I thought Dwight Lowry played pretty well, considering, it was a pretty pretty lopsided win or loss. But I thought Lowry played pretty well. I saw a lot of people talking about him not doing well, and the safeties suck and all this. But I mean, Mike Adams missed a couple tackles, and he should have been in on the long touchdown to Harvin. Looked like he should have been the one over the top of Butler. Butler was expecting that. But I thought that they played pretty decent. I like Lowry. He's a solid player. I have no beef with him.
Yeah, and I mean he's everything we thought he would be. We knew he like we said last time. He's not Earl Thomas and he's not LaRon Landry. He's like in between, and that's okay. And that is fine. That does kind of lead into talking about safeties real quick. I did write down Gaither's name a few times. The tip pass, that was a really good use of his skills. That was using him pretty much to the best of his ability there. And he had some. They weren't really. I mean, he had some big pops. I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple times he just laid his shoulder down and just popped people, and that's what he is. And I'm glad to see that. I mean, for was it fourth round safety, getting as many snaps as he had, that's perfectly fine. So I'll kick it out to Brian. What you got a defensive takeaway from the game?
Well, first I want to say that Darius Butler played one of the worst games I've ever seen at cornerback. He was atrocious. I don't know how else to say that. But since he played so bad, I'll go to Mike Adams because I know you brought him up. Overall, he played well. I think he had 2 or 3 missed tackles in the game, and that doesn't sound good. But the amount of times that he was near the ball was the quantity was just so high because Freeman and Jackson weren't doing anything. So he was responsible for cleaning up all those plays. So the missed tackles are bad, but he had a lot of plays, like the second play of the game when LaShawn McCoy ran that wheel route and brought it down the sideline. Like, he stopped that. So there was a lot of games where a lot of plays where I think Mike Adams, it didn't look like he made a great play because it was probably 10 or 15 yards from the line of scrimmage when he was making the tackle or pushing the guy out of bounds. But he really kind of cleaned up the mess that was in front of him.
Yeah, and that kind of, I mean, you just kind of gave me a little segue into something else I wanted to talk about. DeQuell Jackson, he's just bad. I mean, okay, yeah, he's bad. I mean, he might be.
I got to jump in. I'm going to do one DeQuell defense here. The Carlos Williams touchdown, he actually crashed the lane that Williams was supposed to go to. He crashed it pretty hard, and that's the reason Williams had to bounce it to the left. And, of course, Freeman overran the hole, and then Mike Adams off of his tackle. But he got, 1 or 2 stops. I wrote his name down. He definitely missed, 3 more tackles after that. But, I guess it evens out. He was bad, but he wasn't awful.
There was a play with Shady where he broke through the line, and he was right there, 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And then he just juked him out and just left him in the tracks. It was so ugly.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
I think he's starting to lose his body at this point, DeQuell, because he's getting in position to make these plays, and he just can't physically, on that McCoy touchdown, or not touchdown, but long run especially, it was evident.
Yeah, he can't get outside and recover at all. There's a pass to McCoy to the right side, and he, by the time he got out there, McCoy was already up the field, and it was bad. Actually, I think it might have been Harvin, not McCoy.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next kind of little question, little segue. When does Nate Irving or C.O. Moore take more and more snaps from Jackson? Do you think it happens soon, in 2 or 3 games, or maybe even sooner than that? I don't know. I think they give him a little bit of time, but do you think by the end of the season Jackson ends up being on the bench?
6 hours ago. I'd hope that they watched that game and just saw that you can't have him in space anymore. That was basically the whole game plan for Buffalo. I mean, I think PFF said he had 15 of his 22 passes were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. They knew what they were doing, and they ran all over, just get it down underneath, and the linebackers can't recover.
Yeah. It's a matter of time, I guess. I mean, there's no way they let him. Yeah, I'm sure he's a wonderful locker room guy. I'm sure
Mhm.
he brings a lot of intangibles to the heart and the soul of the defense. But the heart and the soul can only take you so far in the
Yeah.
NFL
Well,
unless you're
I
Ray
just looked up the
Lewis.
schedule, and the Colts bye week is week 10. So do you want to say by the bye week, after the bye week, he'll be replaced?
I would say before. I'm hoping before the bye week.
I agree with that. I think when Moore was released, I think they just pounced on the opportunity to get Moore, and they weren't expecting to get that opportunity. But we know that they scouted him in the draft, and we think that they liked him. Well, they obviously liked him, and they know that Jackson and Freeman are struggling. That's why they're playing Geathers at linebacker so often, even
Yeah.
in the season already. So they know they've got problems there, and now they've got this talented guy, this young guy who they really like, and I think it's just a matter of time for him to get integrated, to get comfortable with this defense, and I think as soon as that happens, he's going to be on the field.
Yeah, and I think he'll be on the field a lot. He everyone whatever when he was traded, so Jack Del Rio knows linebackers. Well, I'm here to say Jack Del Rio doesn't know much about anything. I've never I guess I've never been a big fan of Jack Del Rio. I mean, he had that personnel last year in Denver, and they were a good unit, but they were exceptionally talented roster as opposed to good defensive schemes. Which I think is going to change this year for them, but that's not the point of this podcast. So Garrett, do you have? Did I ask you already? I can't remember. Do you have your takeaway from defense?
My takeaway from defense, I mean, besides that our linebackers are trash and no one the line of scrimmage can tackle except for Vontae, which is why they just had him running 9 routes with Watkins all day. All the young players that they played well. I mean, we were really excited about Perry coming out of the preseason, and now it looks like in the first regular season game, Anderson's kind of upstaged him and stuff. But I'm still really excited about both.
Kendall.
What?
Yeah, Kendall.
Yeah, Kendall Hunter. I mean, Kendall Hunter. I'm sorry. Kendall, who also had a good game. Yeah, Kendall Langford. I was talking about this with someone, and it's just really amazing. They lost every starter from last year on defensive line, and they've got 2 rookies and Kendall Langford, who no one was really that excited about as a free agent, and they've completely reloaded. It could, by the end of the year, be a much significantly stronger unit. It's got more upside, absolutely, and I love the way that they're using these guys. So I'm really excited, and it shouldn't have worked out this well, but I'm not going to question it.
Yeah, I think time will tell, but I will say one of the things I did write down is when they were running, when they tried to go those A and B gaps, there was nothing there. They had to hit it. They had to hit the tackle tight end gap, the C, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. They had to hit the C gap a whole lot, and that's where they were really successful at. And I saw one play. I like Jack Doyle, don't get me wrong, but I saw one play where Jack Doyle was absolutely bodied on a run block or not Jack Doyle. I'm sorry.
I was confused.
It was their tight end Clay.
Clay?
Clay got absolutely bodied by Henry Anderson. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, but yeah. So we'll go. We'll take from that mistake, and we'll move on to the offense, and I guess we'll just kind of go reverse. Garrett, what was your takeaway from offense?
I know that we're all really kind of down on the receiving core after, obviously the offense didn't even score any points, or Johnson was disappointing to a lot of people. I'm going to defend Andre on this one. I thought mostly people's expectations for him were a little high. Like, you're not going to get what he was 5 years ago, and I don't think that's what the Colts were expecting to get. He's a big guy. They're going to play him in the slot. They're going to start him in 2 receiver sets. That could change as the season goes on. Maybe they start to like Moncrief a little bit more, and they start to play him over Johnson in the 2 receiver sets. But they like his ability to block, and he can still. I know he had that embarrassing drop, but he can still make really tough catches because he's bigger and stronger than every other receiver we have right now. He had a couple of those catches really early in the game when I thought he was actually looking pretty good. And Buffalo's corners are tough, so you're just not going to get a lot of highlight plays out of these guys. I thought that Moncrief also looked very improved from last year. I thought his routes just looked a little sharper. I think he's going to get a lot of stuff over the top against weaker defenses this year, and I'm really excited. Really, all of the young players, I think, showed out pretty well. Like, we know Varga had a couple of highlight plays. Muhort, who a lot of us were worried about after the preseason, showed out pretty well at right tackle. And, yeah, I guess I'm just excited to see what these guys are going to do against shittier defenses.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off the Moncrief thing. Yeah, I mean, he looked better. He's still obviously, he was very raw, and he's still working on things. But I mean, this year is going to be he's going to get a lot of play time this year, which is good.
He didn't have any outright drops, which I thought was a positive.
Right.
Though his worst plays came when he left his feet and he had to go up for a ball.
Yeah.
He's still not really positioning himself very well. He's not maintaining control of his body while he's going up for the ball, and that's hurting him. But that's a step that I think he'll take maybe a year or two down the line.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was going to kind of say. Like his routes look better. He looks like he's I don't know how to say that, but yeah, basically his body control in the air is still subpar, and I don't know if he is necessarily aggressive enough in the air either. When he goes up for a ball, he's just kind of going for it, but he's not like, I don't know.
I've seen him step out of the way a couple times, just shouldered by a defensive back.
Yeah.
Kind of goes up passively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he needs to leverage himself better.
Yeah. Brian, offensive takeaway, go.
I kind of wanted to touch on wide receivers again. This is kind of more, I want to talk more about what Pep is doing, because I've always been kind of conventional, especially when you have 3 or 4 wide receiver sets, that you put size on the outside, speed in the middle. But recently, especially in the NFL, you're putting size in the middle and speed on the outside. That's what I noticed when it went T.Y. on the outside, Johnson in the middle, and then Moncrief on the outside. I mean, it worked, but I don't want Pep to try and be so different where he's putting Johnson in the middle and not using his strength, which is how strong he is on the sideline and making back shoulder catches and things like that. So that's one note I wanted to make. But actually, my main thing I want to talk about is the interior versus the exterior blocking. I think Muhort actually did play really well, considering he was going up against Mario Williams. I don't think he got enough credit. He didn't win a lot of matchups, but he didn't lose, and that's really all we needed him to do. And then I think the tight ends are actually probably the best blockers. Dwayne Allen had a couple when they were actually running the ball. Dwayne Allen had a good one. Actually, you brought up Jack Doyle. I have a note here. I thought he blocked really, really well when they brought him either as a second or the third tight end. So
A fullback. When he played fullback, he was rocking
That's
as a
when he
fullback.
was running the ball well, is when we had a fullback on the field. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, and
So we're running against like 6-man boxes, and we were just running them up the gut.
So the interior offensive line, I'm not too optimistic about, but when we pull guys, bring it outside, we run through the C gap, or we're doing counters and cutbacks, I really think that's the best way we can get our offensive line to working, because Gore showed it as the beginning, and then even Josh Robinson and Tyler Varga, when they had carries here and there, they showed it that when we're getting guys moving, we're not just running straight halfback dives up the middle of the line, that we can have success, because offensive line is kind of smaller, but when we use our agile line to its advantage, we can win in the run game.
yeah, and everyone who follows me on Twitter or has ever read anything I've ever wrote on the offensive line, you will know I'm not a fan of Lance Lewis or Khaled Holmes. And they went to sleep Sunday night and they had nightmares of Kyle Williams breaking through their door and smashing through whatever, because that's what he did all game long. I mean, he just absolutely abused those guys, and we knew he would. But if they had Darius, oh man, it probably would have been a little bit of a worse day.
It would have been a shit show.
Yeah, but I
I really think that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to say, I really think that if you want to get Luck like playing at a more consistent level, then upgrading that interior O-line would be a huge step in that direction because that pressure that comes up the middle is what really throws him off his game. Like he can avoid guys coming from the sides. He does that really well. He knows when to step up. But that interior pressure, when you've got guys coming through the A-gaps, that's when he plays his worst football.
The reason he played so crappy in the second quarter was because he couldn't step into any of his throws.
Oh, yeah, that's when he threw his pick.
Yeah, he's not like he's good at maneuvering in the pocket, but he's not at the point where like he's Tom Brady or like Drew Brees, where like he can like he plays it to like the inch and he knows how to maneuver like around blocks like precisely. He's not at that point yet. So even when he has some room to step up, he's kind of like seeing ghosts and he's not stepping into enough of his throws, and that's why he underthrew Hilton when he beat Darby. That's why he overthrew Andre Johnson on like a slant route or something like that. He needs. I'm here blaming Andrew Luck when he's doing all he can, but if you can improve the O-line, he'll be able to learn how to step into his throws better. You won't be seeing ghosts, which is something you don't want your franchise quarterback doing.
No, and you're exactly right. Like when he can't plant that foot, the foot that he throws forward when he's gonna throw, those are his worst passes. And I mean,
he doesn't have that elite arm. He needs to step into his throws if he really wants to get the accuracy. He doesn't have like a Russell Wilson arm.
Yeah, exactly. And like he needs a shout out to Hawk Badger, and I know you're listening. But yeah, I mean when Khaled Holmes and Lance Lewis and even Harriman, whatever his PFF grade was, I don't care. I still don't like him. Yet he can prove me wrong with a few more solid games, I guess. But he got a 1.8 or something like that. But I was never like, oh man, look at Todd Harriman's block. But I wasn't on the other end. I wasn't like, ugh, look at Todd Harriman's. It wasn't that bad. It was mostly the two I've been talking about. But when they
I wanted to make a point real quick. I know Garrett just said like Russell Wilson because I remember I saw a Vine a couple days ago of him in the NFC Championship game where he threw the pass over the middle to Jermaine Kearse and like someone said like, oh look, he didn't even have to like step into that throw. He didn't like he didn't even plant. He was all arm, but that's not what Andrew Luck is. So that's why even if Russell Wilson doesn't. I mean, their offensive line is crap, but he has just a natural arm strength to put it over the top without stepping into his throws, where Luck doesn't.
Yeah. And the thing is, people look at like Luck throwing like 70-yard bombs, and they assume he's got this great arm, and it's fine. But those are coming from his lower body. You know, he doesn't have a Kaepernick arm or like a Joe Flacco arm, so he needs a little bit more room in the pocket to get those really great throws.
And I totally think. I mean, everyone says it every year, but you know, it'll be interesting to see what they do coming up in the spring when it comes to the interior line. Even this year, I don't think that this is the starting unit for more than 5 games. Joe Reitz, whatever, has to get in here. I think somewhere, maybe, hopefully, play left guard, but not tackle. Make him play left guard. And yes, I'm always going to say play Jonathan Harrison. Just because he's as strong as an ox. But let's move on to James. What was your offensive takeaway from the game? If we haven't already kind of covered it, because we covered a lot.
No, yeah, you guys are fine. You guys got most of them. You know, Lance Lewis really bad. There was one wide open slant to Hilton, and he got hit as soon as he threw it because Kyle Williams just blew up Lance Lewis right at the line and hit Luck, and you know that would have been at least 15 yards on the. I think that was the second drive of the game. So you know they need to be able to move the ball that early. I don't know. I'm going to sound like a super homer here, and you know, but I didn't think it was that bad yesterday. I went back and I was with everybody like, oh my God, this offense is awful. You know, Luck is just atrocious today. I went back and I watched it a second time, and I just think that they missed on a few key plays. The interception, he just badly underthrew it. He had Hilton by at least 1.5 yards on Darby, and if he just throws it, you know, another couple yards, which he doesn't have great arm strength, but we know he's got the arm strength to get it there. You know, they missed on a few execution plays, but I really like them for the most part. The offense, I don't think I think they're a lot closer to doing well versus that defense than they were to being just helpless yesterday.
They were clicking the first quarter. They were playing really well.
They were moving.
First drive outside of the Holmes holding, they gained 60 yards, just bang, 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 4 plays or something, 60 yards down the field. And then
Drive was touchdown drive. And then
what was that?
penalty.
Yeah.
Penalties.
Penalties at the worst possible times every time. Like it's a third down and 2, and then it turns it into a 3rd and 17 or something because there's a 15-yard penalty. I don't know. I didn't think they played that poorly, and considering that it's against the best defense in the league, probably at home, and it's first game Rex Ryan, that place was just rocking. They were so hyped up to be playing, and there really wasn't anybody very open because the corners were playing great. Darby really impressed me. I didn't like him that much in the draft, and he played really well. I don't know. I have no worries about the offense besides the 2 interior offensive line spots, the left guard, center. That's a really bad combo between those 2, but I think versus most defenses, it'll be adequate.
Yeah, and I really do agree with you. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the first game against Buffalo's defense, they're a really good team. I'm not going to try and take anything away from them. Their defense was already scary last year. Rex Ryan comes in. His defensive schemes are always good. And I will tell you, Rex Ryan loves to blitz the ball. There were so many times when he was sending 6 and 7 guys. Like, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but poor I think it was Chandler Harnish last year when we played the Jets in the preseason. Like with that O line that we had in the preseason last year, and he sent 8. Like he sent 8 multiple times. Like Chandler Harnish was dead. Like that. He's not afraid to blitz, and he did, and he blitzed a lot, and they were very effective because you're right, the corners were very good. So it's not like we went out there and lost horribly. It was not a fun loss by any means, but
he disguised the blitz so well. Like there were some plays where it was Kyle Williams in the dirt, and then he had 6 guys standing up. He put like 4 on one side, 2 on the other. He disguised it so well because he knows our offensive line never really gels, and we're always putting a new unit out there. So even though the guys are stepping back and they're trying to get what their guy is, when you bring that many people at one time, we just didn't have the chemistry to even hold up a little bit and give Luck a little more time.
Yeah, and it was obviously unfavorable for your first game, but you got to remember this is the first time that these guys have played a full game. Like preseason, they didn't play as much as they played yesterday. So it was. The sky isn't falling, as I said at the beginning. It's not. We're up against a pretty hard test next week in the Jets, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. Right now, I'm going to move to this thing that I've wanted to talk to you guys about. I wanted to write an article about it because I wanted to write an article at the beginning of the season talking about how optimistic I was about Jonathan Newsome. But then after I watched his tape, I was, I don't know, maybe not as optimistic. And then the preseason has come and gone, and I know we only had one game and he barely played, but still, where is he? Like what last year? I guess I'll kind of go ahead and say what my thing is. I said in a couple tweets before too, but all of his wins last year, his sacks, I think probably 3 of them were unblocked, and he just used his speed. The others were good sacks, I won't lie, but 3 of them definitely came from unblocked, and he just used his speed. Sacks are sacks, but still, to me, he lacks a lot of technique. He's got the speed, but he doesn't have the hands or the moves, the counter moves yet. And he might learn them. I don't know. But has anyone got an answer? Like, does anyone think they know who's got the key?
He's not like he's fast, but he's not like an elite athlete. For his position, he's not anything close to like a Vic Beasley or a Bud Dupree or any of those freaks. So he's not, what's Justice's term, a force player or whatever. But he does need to learn more advanced moves if he ever wants to be any kind of consistent threat. And so far, we've seen exactly none of that. And he still looks like what he was last year, which is just a faster blitz option for Minuski to use on stunts and stuff like that. And in that sense, he's valuable. And he's a fifth-round pick, and he was a fifth-round pick for a reason, not just because he went to a smaller school. So he could develop, but based on what I've seen so far, I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not expecting him to be like the future of the edge rush at this point.
Yeah, I want to chime in because I wrote about him for Edge Guys and State of the Union, and this was the point during the summer where I was very, very high on him. I thought he was the guy moving forward. He was the primary option, but I always thought there was a chance he kind of end up like a tertiary option where he's not on the field that much, where he kind of just has the same, he just kind of keeps the same role that he had last year. And I didn't see many snaps from him during the game, but I remember I saw one against Cordy Glenn where he tried the bull rush and he got underneath, but he just kind of stopped in his tracks because he's not playing to his suit. I mean, it's always good to keep a variety in arsenal of pass rush moves, but you can tell that his strength just isn't there. I mean, Cordy Glenn's a very strong left tackle, but he got nowhere when he tried the bull rush. And he got the leverage. He just didn't have enough strength to get there. So I think trying to find pass rush moves where it works to his strength is something that he can work on this year, especially once Robert Mathis gets back, because he can kind of try out different things in certain situations, especially at the end of the game if we're up by a lot. So I think this year is important for him and learning how to do those things and trying stuff out.
And I will say, if everyone remembers, there was a swing pass or like I don't know, it wasn't a screen, but kind of like a swing pass over to Shady, and he was like all over it. I hadn't seen that from him before. I will say that I really hadn't seen that before, but I mean, it was good coverage, especially from
the way he put his hand up there, and he timed it perfect. So because a lot of edge guys who aren't like familiar in coverage, when they do that, when they cover those, they put their hands up way too early and they get called for fast interference. But for him to actually, I usually haven't seen him in coverage much. For him to be actually to be able to defend that, I was really surprised. I remember watching it live and I was so shocked on how he was able to defend that.
Yeah, that was a good play. Jay, you're over there kind of smiling. What do you got?
Sorry, I was cracking up. Garrett just slid into the picture frame from the left, just slowly snuck back in.
Damn it, James.
Newsome, I always thought that it was going to be. We were all. It was always projection. We knew that he wasn't going to be a good starter last year. In all offseason, like he wasn't there yet. We were projecting him to develop a counter. He doesn't have any counter for if they stop the outside rush. He can, he'll move inside, but it's not. There's no movement to it. He doesn't use his hands at all. I wrote 2 different times. He just got smothered. That's the one way I can describe it. Like Glenn just basically just hugged him around the back, and he didn't do anything. He wasn't using his hands. He wasn't extending. So he's pretty long. I don't know his combine measurements, but when you watch him, he's a long guy. He needs to use that to his advantage. Realistically, he's still probably his ceiling is a solid to good number 2 pass rusher. Right now, he's a situational, you'll throw him in there on third down kind of guy, but it's clearly the team is going to go with Walden, Cole, and hopefully Mathis, depending whatever he has left when he comes back. But that's going to be the 3 outside linebackers until Newsome can develop some consistency. If he's got good closing speed, that's the one thing I'll still give him. When he gets around the corner, like Werner probably might even be better actually getting around a tackle than he is, but he's got no closing speed. He'll get around the corner and the quarterback's like, okay, I better get rid of it now. But you can't with Newsome. One quick thing about the offense, I want to throw this out there. Luck was bad yesterday. I wasn't saying that he was better than that. He just wasn't. Some people were saying like worst game he's ever played and stuff. He wasn't that bad, but
He wasn't.
He was pretty bad yesterday. But considering the opponent, I'm not sweating it. Yeah, he was bad. I'm not blinded to that.
If I'm gonna describe this offensive performance, I think the best way to do it is to compare it to like blowouts of like last year and stuff. And it would have been so much worse if this had been the Arizona or St. Louis game all over again.
Oh my
the
gosh.
opposition was just completely pitiful and couldn't do anything. You could see the improvements on the field in this game versus last year, even though we were getting our butts kicked. Like Luck's receivers were, while they were still getting handled by these DBs, like Moncrief was a better target than Nix was by like miles. Even Andre had a couple big catches on like third down and stuff. So the improvements are just so clearly there. And obviously Gore over T-Rich, etc. And Muhort over Sherlis. The improvements are there. This is going to be a better offense this year. I hope no one is taking this bad start as a sign that there has been no progress made on this roster.
Yeah. Okay, so I like it. So do you think that the offense can do any better next week? Let's kind of talk about the Jets game real quick. I know we're not trying to keep this going much longer, time-wise, but what do you think? Do you guys think that the offense can be a little bit better next week? I'm sad that Hilton probably won't be playing in the game. I guess he's day-to-day, but my guess is he doesn't play. But I'm not a doctor. I have no idea. But, I mean, bone bruise sounds awful. And I'm sure it's very painful. But we all know how the NFL is. Give him a little cortisone. Let him go. We'll see. You never know. But, I mean, if he doesn't play, you're going to see Revis Island on either Johnson or Moncrief. I would imagine probably Johnson, just because Moncrief I don't know, but I don't know who. I don't really know who he'd cover. It's kind of hard because Cromartie's out, so that kind of limits them a little bit because they're with Buster Screen and Deep Milliner. Is he the fourth guy?
I don't think so. I think he's hurt actually or something. Yeah. The game I watched against Cleveland on Sunday was they were playing this guy named Marcus Williams, I think his name is, and he's Cromartie's backup, and he's a backup. And he had a couple nice plays where he blew up a receiver on a comeback, and then I think he also had an interception. But he was getting, they were getting separation on him, and we'll definitely be able to get separation on him. So, in that respect, I'm a little more optimistic about our prospects versus this defense than Buffalo's. I mean, this defense doesn't have Rex Ryan anymore. That's helpful. They also don't have. I'm sorry, what's his name? Is it Richardson? Is out? Sheldon Richardson?
Yeah, he's out.
Yes.
He's out.
Yes.
But their front seven is still scary. They got that one of their linebackers was having a really great game against
David
Cleveland.
Harris.
Yeah, I guess that was his name. Stuff in the run. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Revis. They kept a one safety high most of the time against Cleveland, but I mean it was Johnny Manziel and Josh McCown, so why wouldn't you? I don't know if they'll do the same thing now that Cromartie's down against Indy. If they play softer coverage, I think that we'll get something going. Luck should be better protected if that's the case. Maybe we'll be able to run a little bit better. Then again, maybe not.
I just think that again the strength of the Jets defense is those two interior their interior guys. Leonard Williams and Mo Wilkerson. And their nose tackle is pretty good too. I don't remember his name.
Damon Harrison is one of the most underrated nose tackles. Yeah,
I mean, their interior group is
no love because everyone talks about Leonard Williams, Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, but he's the one that takes up that A gap, and he's so underrated. No one talks about him as being one of the best nose tackles, but he really is one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and like as I was saying, their interior is the strength of their front seven. Their linebackers, David Harris is pretty good, but I don't remember any of the other guys' names. Maybe Quentin Coples, I think, maybe he's still on the team. I don't know.
Mario Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and honestly, I probably won't care until Sunday when I'm like, oh man, why is that guy hurting Andrew? That's just for another story. But I mean, I think again we're gonna have to be stuck with the quick hits. They want to try and do that again. If they can't establish the run game, they're going to want to try those quick hits again, and those are successful. I don't know why they really went away from trying to attack the seam with Buffalo in the Buffalo game, because they were being overly aggressive, and the tight ends. I mean, Dwayne Allen could have ran the seam a lot and have probably got a good thing going, but they just kind of went away from targeting him, and I think if they can do that this game again, like I said, their linebacker core isn't world beaters, and I think Dwayne Allen is just good enough to. I mean, I like him a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's just good enough to be able to have a pretty big game. But they've got to get those quick hits going. I imagine we see a lot of Dorsett this game if Hilton doesn't play. Even if Hilton plays, I still think we'll see more Dorsett than we saw last week, which is actually good because I don't like Buster Screen. I think that he's one of those people who's kind of got a name, a reputation, and a name for seasons ago or a few seasons ago when he did have a really good year, but since then he's kind of been down. So
sorry, I got to interrupt. I'm gonna head out now. Okay.
All right, we'll see you. See you next time.
Chris Ivory's underrated. Bye.
What did he say?
No idea.
I don't know. I didn't hear him. But anyways, so I mean, I think, like I said, I think if we can get the quick hit game going, and we can maybe start to establish some bigger plays through that way. Defensively, with the Jets, Ryan Fitzpatrick's back in town. Thank God. He had a good game last week back in Chan Gailey's defense, but once again, dink and dunk. Which actually can maybe be effective on our defense because our linebackers aren't that great. But I do think that we can match. I think that we do match up pretty well to their receivers, and they don't really have a tight end of note. So I mean, I do think this game is winnable. I think we will win this game because it's at home. But and I think on Monday night we've been actually pretty good with Andrew. I can't remember. No, well, there was that one game against the Chargers we played where it was like 9-12 or something like that. That was a brutal Monday night game, and you know what? We very well could see that game again this Monday night with this kind of maybe some play, but we'll see. Anybody have anything they want to talk about for the game on Monday night? I guess.
Yeah. I haven't done anything for the Jets yet. I haven't watched their first game yet. I haven't seen how Bowles is using anybody. But, I mean, I anticipate everybody playing, at least the offense, playing better just because they're at home and outside of the weather, outside of that crazy stadium. So I anticipate them at least playing better there. You know, they have another week to kind of get some chemistry together. Johnson didn't play that badly. You know, he had the one really bad drop in the end zone for the 2-point conversion. Then he had another one, but besides that, he didn't play well, but he wasn't, you know, it wasn't like he was super old and couldn't get around the field. And, you know, I think Moncrief, I think he's going to keep developing. You know, Dorsett at the end caught a couple passes when they finally started targeting him. So hopefully he can get a little something going. The run game, you know, they'll actually maybe try to stick with it this time. Probably still going to be a rough offensive game, but I anticipate them playing better. Honestly, they've got so many weapons, the Jets do, on offense that the defense might be worse this week. So that's going to be a test for them more than it is for the offense, I think.
Brian?
Yeah, actually, we were talking about Colts offense versus Jets defense, which I really want to focus on. I think the way to win this game is to go with the tight ends. Cromartie and Revis, they're going to be on whoever. That's not saying that we can't throw to them, but I really think the way to win this game is to use 2 and 3 tight end sets. We brought up the linebackers. People like the Jets linebackers. I really don't. Quentin Coples isn't good in coverage. Calvin Pace, David Harris, like these guys are names. They're good run blockers, but they're really not good in coverage. And we have very, very good tight ends. Or people like Calvin Pryor. If you put Calvin Pryor on Dwayne Allen's going to win. If you put David Harris on Kobe Fleener, I have a feeling Kobe Fleener is going to win. I don't think we try and spread it out. What?
I said maybe.
I still hope for Kobe Fleener. I don't know. I think the way to win this game, I think what Pep should do, and what I hope he does, is I hope he puts in 2 and 3 tight end sets, and he fakes hopefully we can get a little run game going in the beginning if we get lucky, and we do a little play action, and I think this is the game Dwayne Allen takes over, especially if Rivas is who he is and Cromartie gets healthier throughout the week and he plays very well. I think this is a game for Dwayne Allen, Kobe Fleener, and Jack Doyle. I don't know. I just think that's the way to win it. I don't think Jets are good against the run. They have a good secondary, but I don't think their linebackers are all that people say they are, especially in coverage when we have the weapons that we do.
No, and I mean like that. I mean it's pretty much right along what I was saying. The short, quick passing game to Dwayne and Kobe and even Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle never falls backwards, and that's why I like Jack Doyle. That dude always can gain like 2 or 3 yards by falling forward, and I mean, hey, it could happen. So I mean, I guess that's kind of it for this week. Like I said, guys, don't be afraid from this one game. It was kind of an ugly loss, if you want to call it that. I mean, I guess it was an ugly loss, but it wasn't pretty either. There are no pretty losses, I guess, but it wasn't the end of the world. This week should be better.
The same thing happened last year when we were down 24-0 with the Broncos. Kind of made a comeback, and even we lost week 2 against the Eagles, and we finished 11-5.
Yeah.
So never panicking in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, especially as the offense gets together and gets in a rhythm, and once they find their rhythm, they're going to be really good. So next week we'll be back. We're going to talk fallout from the Jets game, and we're going to move forward to the Titans game, which should be interesting conversation depending on how well their week 2 goes. I won't even get into my comments on Marcus Mariota. That'll be for next week. That'll be fun. But I guess be on the lookout for, if you're reading the website, which I hope you are. If you are, you're listening to this most likely. But James has got a post-game write-up coming. We're hoping to maybe get some stuff out. Draft talk. I know it's way early, but there's maybe we can start doing a little bit here and there. And always, from now on,
preliminary stuff.
Yeah, just getting some stuff going. We're going to do the Sunday breakfast article. It could be me. It might be someone else. Just a little game preview. We're going to put it out Sunday morning. There could be some hot takes in there. Who knows? We don't know. I don't even know who's writing it yet, but it'll be there. So just keep checking back in. Tweet us. Comment on our stuff. Send us direct messages if you hate us, and I will answer you. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't do this if you guys weren't listening. So we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Grant.